If Italian painter Caravaggio was transported to modern times from the 1600s, handed a camera, some lights and a film crew, I imagine the images he'd produce would be similar to that of Sean Bobbitt. Cinematography full of contrast, natural light, a balance of dark and light, which is focused on a mature treatment of stories from the darker side of humanity. This is the style of Sean Bobbitt. In this edition of Cinematography Style, I'll analyze Bobbitt's visual creation of a heightened cinematic reality by unpacking his philosophy on filmmaking and showing how he achieved this practically through his use of technical gear. This video was made possible by the fans on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get early access to these videos, please consider supporting by following the link in the description. Upon graduating from Santa Clara University, British cinematographer Bobbitt moved back to England, where he found work as a news sound recordist for CBS. He soon moved to shooting instead, and for the next 10 years began working freelance, mainly shooting documentaries for CBS. After attending a seminar taught by cinematographer Billy Williams, he set his sights on becoming a director of photography on feature films. Bobbitt is known for his long-standing collaboration with Steve McQueen, having shot all of his feature films. He's also worked with other directors such as Michael Winterbottom, Derek Cianfrance, Mira Nair, and Dominic Cook. To Bobbitt, the script is the best starting point to create a cinematic approach for each film. I try not to read books that scripts are based on, for the simple reason that my loyalty, intellectually and spiritually, is to the script and not the book. The template I prefer to work from is the screenplay, to understand the desires of the director and not have anything else in my head. From reading and discussing the contents of the screenplay with the director, he then begins to form an idea of how the cinematography should be shaped. He'll then take his ideas and make visual suggestions to the director. Many of his ideas seem to stem from his background in documentary, such as his use of natural light and a technique he's become known for, his use of long, often handheld, single takes, which he operates himself. During a violent and emotional whipping scene on 12 Years a Slave, he suggested shooting it in an 8-minute, single, handheld take. When I read the script, I knew the scene needed to be one uninterrupted shot, roaming around the action, and Steve agreed. The effect of the continuous shot in relation to violence is very powerful. If you don't introduce an edit, the audience does not have an escape, and you are forced to watch the images in front of you, heightening the effect of the drama. I see making a cut in films as being like taking a breath. Sometimes you want the audience to hyperventilate through a burst of quick cuts, and sometimes you want them to hold air in their lungs for minutes at a time. While long takes heightened the tension in 12 Years a Slave, Bobbitt has also used this technique to introduce the audience to a specific character and their space, such as in the opening shot of The Place Beyond the Pines. He plays an influential role in selecting shots, particularly when working with McQueen, where the cinematography is modeled on being economic and determined by the script. We don't like the word coverage. What we try to do is determine the specific shots needed to tell the story. If we can make it work in one shot, we'll make it work in one shot. If it needs 2 shots, we'll do 2 shots. If it needs more, then we'll do more. Scenes are therefore constructed around what the story requires, rather than following a traditional model of always getting a wide, a medium, and a close-up. Like his shot selection, which is designed to serve the story, so is his overall visual approach. His lighting is simple and based off of available light, which he'll support or amplify with artificial fixtures so that his images take on a painterly, cinematic realism. Part of Bobbitt's look comes from the consistency of his gear selection. He likes to use the same film stocks, camera, and lenses across his work. There are times when a different approach to the cinematography is required, which warrants him changing his usual setup, but for the most part, the gear he uses remains continuous across projects. He likes to shoot on the Arri LT for a handheld or Steadicam setup, and the ST for a studio setup with 3 Kodak film stocks, 50D for daylight exteriors, 250D for daylight interiors, and 500T for night scenes. He favors the Cooke S4 primes for their slightly lower contrast, warm, and sharp image characteristics with beautiful focus fall-off. When a long lens or zoom is required, he'll move to the Angenieux Optimo 24-290. Most of his films are shot spherically and use a 2.40:1 aspect ratio, which he'll achieve by either shooting 4perf and extracting, or by shooting 2perf, which is cheaper as it uses less film with increased film grain. The 2.4:1 aspect ratio lends itself to a sense of scale. Also, when you get groups of people together in a scene, 2.4 gives you so many more possible compositions that holds everyone. Depending on where you place the character within the frame, it can change the emotional effect that the audience has to that character. The color in the final print is based on the inherent color of the film stocks, which are rich with beautiful skin tones. Although he does work with his regular colorist Tom Poole at Company 3 to make corrections and tweak exposure for continuity in the grade. For handheld work, he likes to shoot on wider lenses, such as a 27mm or 32mm. This takes out some of the shake, makes pulling focus easier with moving variables, and is a great focal length range for framing a character in relation to their background. For general work such as mids and close-ups, he favors a 40 or 50mm lens. He likes to use simple, traditional sources to supplement the light that falls naturally on the set, and maintain the same lighting continuity over the length of shooting a scene. For night scenes with tungsten light practicals or candles, he likes to use cheap and easy China balls with incandescent light bulbs to bring up a soft, even exposure. For daylight scenes, he'll use larger HMIs to key or fill in. In a scene from Widows, he had 6 18K HMIs rigged on scaffolding outside the basketball court to achieve angled rays of light to imitate the look of late afternoon sun. The camera movement in his cinematography is usually motivated by the movement of the characters. If characters are stationary, so is the camera. If they're riding a motorcycle, we ride with them. He tends to work off the dolly, unless there's a specific shot which requires handheld motion, steadicam, or a crane shot. Bobbitt's images provide a mature, tense, yet controlled visual framework for the story to take place in. Over his career, he's drawn directors who require a human and considered eye to tell their often dark, character-focused stories. His style is informed by his years of experience in documentary, yet it's held together by a painterly quality and a cinematically simple execution. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Cinematography Style. If you liked the video and would like to see more of this content, I'd appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, thanks for watching, and goodbye.